Good morning. I probably only need one microphone, not two, so I'm going to walk away from there. How do you feel today? Great. Awesome. Hey, Soul of Agile. This talk came out of frustration a couple years ago about what I saw happening when I was going into coach and consultant organizations. And I was often brought in to fix the team. Has anyone experienced that? Have you been in a position of being fixed? How did that feel? Not so good, right? I don't need to be fixed. I just need space to be who I am. Generally, that's what's happening. So that came out of that space, and the soul, for me, that's really about what's guiding me, what's guiding you, what's guiding your organization. And this particular talk came together a few days after I was in Belgium 2 years ago, and I was blessed to witness the Dalai Lama speaking for 3 days with a number of other people on stage, and it was an incredible experience. And I took some really beautiful messages from that experience and rolled it into this talk, and really found that the things that are being talked about in the world in different industries are the same things that we're challenged with in the Agile industry, in the software industry. It's the same everywhere. People are feeling disgruntled, not heard, not being able to apply their best selves in their organizations and their work, and we need to change that. So my focus used to be technical. My focus used to be working on software development and testing and management and product management and project management. I've done all the management things. And then I shifted into coaching and consulting. And over the last couple of years, I've really shifted my focus to focusing on the people and the culture and leadership. And how do we really empower people to feel whole and happy and complete? Because focusing on the process and the technical alone does not get you thriving organizations. In every organization I've got into where I've been brought in to fix the team, they're like, oh, work on the technical with them, work on the process. I ignored all of that. If the executive team knew what I was doing up front, they probably would not have hired me, because all I did was talk to people all day long. And I witnessed people all day long. I heard their frustrations. We're going to talk more about that through the talk this morning. And the beautiful thing about this approach is that beautiful transformations happen in a very short time. And I'll share some stories about that too. But before we get to that, so these are some of the things that I do. I like to speak. I do have some videos online. I haven't done any in a little while. They might come back. I love to lead workshops. My hair used to be long, you can see. Chopped it all off a couple months ago. And I also love to do obstacle races. Over there is me with my son when he was a lot shorter, and my cousin. Does anyone else like to do obstacle races or runs or anything? It's like a really great way to challenge yourself and see how much you can grow and stretch, right? So a little bit about you. I'd like to know a little bit about who's in the room today. So I'm going to invite you to stand up if you are a software developer. Software developers, yeah. Stand up. Okay. Software testers. Maybe identify as a developer and a tester. Depends on the organization. Scrum Masters. All right, you really need to listen to my talk, okay? Product owners. Managers or executive positions, leadership of any kind, team leads, all those people you really need to listen to, please. If you are really excited to be here, please stand up. Okay, some of you didn't stand. I'm going to redirect you to the organizing team and talk to them a bit later. I did see you. Okay, so this is really about you and where you're at and what you're bringing to your day, every day, what you're bringing to your organization. And I have a small confession. All of these slides are hand-drawn. I'm not an artist. But it makes me happy. that's the best thing. Like when your happiness is leading you, that's when incredible innovation and creativity comes through. And even if I'm not an artist, like my mom and my brother, they're incredible artists. I saw this when I was like a young kid, and I'm like, I can't do that, so I just didn't do it. And now I just do it, and it doesn't really matter. So I invite you to take that with you as you go into your workplace. What are you avoiding that feels really hard or maybe you don't think you're good at? What can you bring in? My question for you now is, are you agile? How agile do you feel that you are? Stand up. Let's see, I'm getting your blood moving. Stand up if you feel that you're really agile in your organization. Go work at their companies, maybe? No. Stand up if you think your agile implementation is struggling a little bit. A little bit? Just a little bit. Yeah. And that's pretty typical. Like, we have this agile way of working. This came in, late 90s, early 2000s. It started like getting a little bit more traction. And I discovered in probably 2005 that there was this thing called Agile. We were in a waterfall organization before that. And I didn't know that that was a thing until I heard about this thing called Agile. I'm like, oh, that's actually how my project works. We just didn't know there was a name. It was this natural tendency to want to collaborate with people and work together and like show up with each other, really be present with each other. And then the agile ball keeps moving. The ball keeps moving. And it becomes this boulder going down the hill really, really fast. Now it becomes this massive landslide of agile going down this mountain in this industry now, where it's become a machine. Does anyone feel like that in their organization? You have an agile machine operating? And now it's about applying agile processes. Far, far away from the natural, intended way of working in an agile organization where we're actually meeting with each other and having conversations and discovering the best way to work together for what works for us. In most organizations now, though, when I've often been brought in, is to address the dysfunction that's happening or the people are the problem, we need to fire somebody, please tell us who. I've actually been told that. I said no. That we have to bring it back to the core basics again. What was the intention behind this? It's all about people. Always about people. And when the company is prioritizing the process first and the practices, and we have to do it the same way in every single team, or these compartments of teams, we're not really getting the benefit anymore, right? So you might hear things like, you gotta go faster. You just gotta cram this stuff in and get it out by this date. Has anyone experienced that? Has anyone been in a team where you have actually been given, or you've actually been the person to give the timeline for the entire release? For every single feature, in which sprint it's going into, or which cycle, yeah? How good did that feel? I remember a team I was training, and they've been agile for a little while, and I said, oh yeah, first day, we got the entire plan laid out for us. The entire Scrum plan for 6 months. I'm like, that's not really agile, right? And like, what? It's not? But we're doing stand-ups. It must be agile. We have to go to retrospectives. We don't like them very much. And it really, we just have lost focus. And this is really about some things I'm going to talk about, but it's really about wanting to have safety. We want to feel safe, so we apply control measures. So this lack of safety and uncertainty is where we apply control measures in organizations, and usually it's management who feels like they're losing control, so we put those things into place. Unfortunately, that makes your work and your jobs very, very hard. So what's missing? Identified a little bit. What do you think is missing? What else is missing? Shout it out. Trust. Yep. What else? Pardon? Slack. So like space and time. Yep. What else? You think everything's perfect otherwise? Talking about work? Yes? Fear of conflict? Yeah, conflict is a hard one to navigate if you don't have the skills. Then it's scary. Respect, collaboration? Yeah. Caring? Flexibility? You know this story, there's a children's story about the tortoise and the hare, right? Where the tortoise is going really, really slow in the race and the hare is like running really, really fast and then takes a break at a certain point saying, I'm totally going to be the tortoise. I'm just so fast. Run, 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 run. And takes a little nap at one point because he's burnt out and a little bit cocky, right? And the tortoise ends up winning the race because he's just methodical and balanced and patient and trusts himself to get there. And it's the same in organizations. We push so hard, getting the next milestone, next milestone, next milestone. We don't have any slack as a result. We don't have any space to pause and be, to think, to collaborate, to actually learn how to build trust together. Those things really matter. The Agile, by definition, is about being quick, well-coordinated life, ability to think quickly, you're active and lively. The challenge is most organizations have adopted that to mean you just work really, really, really fast all the time, like we just said, which isn't what agility is about. Like agility, think about like a basketball player in the basketball court. They're moving around in all directions really quick, and their feet can respond so quickly to the changing moment, to the changing movements. And we're not actually able to do that in a lot of companies right now. Some of you said your Agile's working pretty well. You probably are. That's amazing. But building this capacity to like shift and change on a dime really, really fast, we have to pause first to build the skills. It's like learning how to walk as a young child. If you watch a baby learning how to walk, they're going to walk and then fall down. And they're going to try again and then fall down. Try again, fall down, until they're just, able to walk and run. Right? It's the same with learning how to build the skills in our organizations. So we go back to the core practices, the processes for the Agile Manifesto. Focusing on individuals and interactions. What are we focusing on that over instead of? Over processes, right. So that means we really value showing up together. We really value the conversations. When your process is forcing you to put information into, documentation online all the time or on your intranet, following the rules for how you have to operate as a team, like you're not valuing what matters to the team members, right? Customer collaboration. That means we go back and forth. We don't support the customer to the point of we have a well-defined everything up front way of working or what we're delivering. We want to discover it as we go. Working software, just that we have something working. Test it out, try it out. Let the customer look at it. Like these are all the basics, right? But we're not doing those things very well. And certainly not doing well, they're responding to change. It goes back to needing to feel safe. When we want to feel safe, we put control measures in place to give ourselves the perception of safety. I know I've done this. I've been a manager or a project lead in the past, both actually, where I did the bulk of the work at one point, and then my team and department grew. I suddenly had people and team members, and I needed to feel safe about what they were doing. I was young, I didn't know any better, and put a lot of tracking mechanisms in place, put a lot of process in place. I was pretty proud of some of it. It was pretty impressive. The problem was it got adopted by other teams too. Dismantling it was really, really hard. And the team members themselves, you could see their light and their engagement and their joy, and it just went down, 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 down into, I'm miserable, it sucks. Selena, we love working with you, but come on, this is not okay. And I at least had enough mindfulness to pause and say, you're right. Now how do we reverse this machine? And it's really, really important that we can have the humility to stop and say, okay, I was just afraid. And my lack of trust in you is more about lack of trust in my own ability to feel safe. So as a manager or leader, how do you do that? How do you admit to your team members that maybe you've been going on the wrong direction? You got on the wrong train. The best way to do it is just have a conversation and say, hey, I think that maybe we need to backtrack and I maybe have made some mistakes. Can we talk about that? What would be another approach that would be great? To just be upfront. As a leader, for those who are leaders here, as a Scrum Master, product owner, manager in any form, the best thing that you can do is show up and be real. Admit where you have maybe been masking your discomforts by insisting on things being a certain way. So that we can shift into discovery and collaboration and actually demonstrate respect and get all of the beautiful innovation that comes out of that. When it comes down to it, we're not machines. We have been treating people in organizations as they are machines. This comes out of the industrial era of work, where people were trained to put cogs in a machine, literally, on the assembly lines, right? And that's been adopted by most organizations over the past 150 years. We still operate that way, collectively, not everywhere. Some are working really well. But we treat people like machines, like they don't need space, like they can just keep going and going and going and going. Maybe I have to pop a new battery in sometimes, but they can just keep going. But that's not true, right? Do you need space? Do you need downtime? Yeah. What happens when we take space? Pardon? Free? You can breathe, yeah. What happens when we can breathe? We can live, yeah. What else? Pardon? Think, yes. There's this beautiful, I can't reference the particular study offhand, but there's this beautiful study that's been done around the value of space in that when you have a lot, and I say a lot of space, if you're spending 50% of your day in the space of reflection and thinking, you actually, in collaborating through those discussions, you actually have more success and you get better results and more innovation into the work that you're doing. For some people, they even push to 75%. So if someone's writing code, they might sit at their desk writing code for maybe 25% of their time. The rest of it is exploring and brainstorming and thinking and collaborating with other people to arrive at a really great results. But when we're pushing people all the time, get the most out of people's time. And if you're not at a keyboard working all the time, we're treating people like machines that way, right? Not fun. Because the truth is we're a living organism. We are an organism as an individual person, and then our collective team is an organism in and of itself with all these moving people and parts and thoughts and ideas, just like our individual bodies are also, because we are filled with bacteria. That also influences the way we think, behave, and act and move. So as a collective unit, you have that too, and then as a collective team or a project, you have this too. And we want to reflect that and respect that and explore that and expand that and grow that. Respect that. Because growth only comes when we actually respect and see and feel that we're alive. I don't know about you, but when I spend all of my time in front of a computer screen, my energy level goes wah, wah, wah. And my space for creative thought and creative exploration, or just even creation, is just gone. I need a lot of space to recover from that. And I'm finding that the more I grow as an individual, the less time I can spend in front of a machine. The beauty of that, though, is the more space I have for myself to create and play and explore, the easier it is for me to create, and it takes a lot less time. It's like inspired flow. Have you ever felt yourself in like that flow state where everything just kind of came, and you're like, oh, new idea, this is amazing. I'm just getting it done so quickly. You ever been there? How often are you there? You want to be there as much as possible. In order to do that, you got to bring yourself out. Who are you really inside? A loud thumping sound. Who are you inside? What lights you up? When you were a small child, what lit you up? If you were to meet yourself at, say, age 7, what would that 7-year-old version of you be excited about? What would they say about how you are today at work? How do you engage with life? Most of us have pretty amazing dreams at that age. And over time, we get taught to squash all of those away, be realistic and be practical. I've been on that practical train, the realistic train. Kind of felt like I was going to have a soul death at one point, because there was no engagement or play or delight anymore. When I go into an organization, what I have worked on is bringing delight back from people, to see that spark go off where people are like having fun. And there's a misnomer that if people are having fun, they're not working. That work has to be serious all the time. Does it feel serious for you all the time? Most of the time? Yeah, some of you are nodding, giving me that little smile. It's not where creation comes from. Creation comes from playing in a space of delight. If you feel delight inside of yourself, you're open to possibilities that are going to really change things in your company, and it really change how you create and build together. And that's where beautiful transformation happens. The soul can lead to success on all levels as a result. It's where growth and transformation comes from. I talked about all of these things, and this is really about your guiding light. So you need to know for yourself, what lights you up? What lights you up? And how can you bring more of that into yourself every day at work? The next step is, as a team, the people that you work with, collectively, what lights all of you up? Where is the shared lighting up? Or maybe it's like a puzzle of you working together and all of your things that excite you put together, create a new version of what excites you. How can you bring that together as a team into your organization? If you're a Scrum Master or leader, how can you encourage the team to step into this? It's pretty easy as someone who's leading a team in any form or serving and guiding a team to just ask them and say, hey, let's just talk about what excites you, what delights you. And if people aren't smiling and laughing in that conversation, you know you're not there yet. People are serious about it. Yeah, I really like to run. That lights me up. Okay, tell me more about that. How do you feel when you're running? What do you love about it? We want to open people up to feel again. This is what we're really coming down to. How do we feel again? Emotions have been kind of stomped out of us, like really stomped out of us in organizations. They're not safe to go into, but that's where the work really is. And that's where the transformation happens. And it comes back to that, what is that lights you up? What guides you? And the core of this, from an Agile standpoint, is care. This is the guiding light. How do we care about ourselves as individuals? How do we care about the other people that we're working with? How do I care about the project? How do I care about the work that I'm doing? How do I care about the person that I'm really pissed off at? How can I find a way to care enough to navigate all of my frustration? To say, oh, they're a person that's struggling right now. How can I have compassion with them and work towards a solution together? It's care on all levels. That's the guiding work. I had a team that I worked with, I was brought into, and they said, fix the team because they're really not doing very well. And on day one, they said, oh, and by the way, we brought in someone to do an assessment, to audit the team, to figure out who needs to be fired. They told me this. I said, well, you want me to coach the team to help them, right? I don't think the auditor is going to be a helpful part of that. They still worked alongside. When I went in, this department of 40 people, executives down to all of the people who were doing the work, there was different stand-ups happening. There was a bit of structure happening with sprints and scrums and all the things. And everyone just kind of looked unhappy. People are in stand-ups like this. Yeah, this is what I did. This is what I'm doing tomorrow. Okay, can I go back to work? There was no engagement or interaction. People hated being in those. The retrospectives were like, this is a waste of time. I just need to do my work. Why are we doing this? Just before I started, there was a release party for the last release a couple weeks before. 5 people out of the department went. It was after hours. 5 people. That's it. I'm like, does nobody here like each other? Is anyone proud of the work that they've done? No. No, they weren't happy. So my benchmark was smiles. If I can see more smiles within a week, then I know we're doing something right and we're on the right track. How can I see more smiles? So every day, I spend hours every day talking to people and just having conversations with them. Let's just do a walk and talk. Not even going into offices, if I could help it. Or meeting rooms, just stay out of those spaces altogether. Hey, let's go for a walk. Let's just chat. Because when you're walking with somebody, side by side with them, there's less pressure. They don't have to look at you. They don't have to feel seen if they're scared to be seen. And the most amazing things come out if you're just casual about it. It's like, hey, how are you feeling? What's going on? What's frustrating you? Oh, yeah? Hey, do you have kids? What are they like? Just get to know people. Really get to know them and feel cared about. It doesn't work with everybody. One manager who was really, really unhappy I was there. And he was the guy where in a meeting he'd be slamming the table, yelling at people. I saw him do this. I wonder what's going on with him. So first day I went and chatted with him. He's like, I'm not the problem. Fix my team. Stay away from me. I don't need to be fixed. I don't think anybody needs to be fixed. Wondering why you're so angry, but okay. I said, hey, I'm just going to show up every day. If you're around, great. If not, no problem. Within 3 weeks, it's a progression, but within 3 weeks, people in the team were engaged and happy and laughing in all of the different stand-ups. They're actually asking each other questions and hey, I can help you with that. Within 3 weeks. Within 3 weeks, that manager, he was slamming tables, was asking, so you mentioned something about one-on-ones. What is that? Hey, and then within another week or 2, he was asking for, can you sit in on a one-on-one with me and tell me how I might be able to do better? I've already asked my team member for permission. I was like, what is going on? This is amazing. The key, though, is care. I showed up with each person and demonstrated care by just talking with them about their lives and what's going on with them, and I actually listened to them. That was the secret. This team, within 3 months, had gone through this transformation where the auditors were gone within 6 to 8 weeks. They were gone. The executive team higher up, like much higher than this department, said, we're so happy with what's happening here. We're so happy. No problems. Let's use this group as a model for what it could be like. Within 3 months, the next release party, everybody went and stayed the whole night. I didn't get invited. That was kind of weird, but I was leaving the next week. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But it was this beautiful, beautiful shift, and it doesn't happen with ease. The partner that I went in with, we didn't work at the same time, but he just kind of looked at me and said, you know, what happened here is not typical. And I know it's not, because the nature of the work that I prefer to do is showing up and caring about people, and that's where the transformations happen. And everyone says, well, that's just a waste of time. Focus on the process and the technical. And like, that's not where people need help anymore. Yes, there's opportunity for that. Yes, but this is the area that's lacking in our organizations, real care. We want to care for all these things, all of the things. It's not one-dimensional, it's everything, probably more things. So my invitation for you is to reflect on, what do you really care about at work, and how do you bring care into work? How do you demonstrate care for yourself? Self-care is critical. Part of that self-care is learning how to politely say no to things. Like if you're working a lot of overtime, how do you stop that? I've been in the overtime space of 60 hours a week, getting paid for 40. I've been in burnout. I learned the hard way how to say no. You have to. But how do you also care for your fellow team members? One of the incredible things about life or work that we do is that it's really hard to respect someone that you don't know. It's really hard to trust somebody that you don't know. It's really hard to be vastly innovatively creative together if you don't know each other. So spending time every day actually having real conversations, getting to know people, is where the difference is. Like, you don't really know me. I don't really know you. But I would love to get to know you. I'm like, I wonder what incredible conversations could happen. And maybe there's possibilities for collaboration on something. But we don't know what those things could be if we don't know each other. And with the management teams, I found often, there's been some C-level executives in particular, where like, I don't get why we have all these problems. We have this Agile stuff happening, and nobody will come and talk to me about what's happening. I said, well, do you ever leave your office or your executive area? I said, no, but our doors are always open. I said, well, maybe if you actually show up and walk around and talk to people. I said, well, no, I don't have time for that. I said, you don't have time not to. Things are crumbling because you're not present with people. We can only do so much if you're not engaging with them. We'll hit a certain peak, and then it's going to stop until leadership shifts. So it's a top-down, bottom-up. So regardless of your role, how do you work on yourself? How do you work with other people? How do you work upwards? How do you work downwards in the hierarchy that exists in your company? I don't love hierarchy, but the reality is it's there, so work with it. How do you show up and care with the people that work on a different layer that you do in your company? Have you, as a team member or a Scrum Master, have you actually shown up and asked your executive sponsors how they are? How are your kids? The cool thing that happens, again, is that once you know them and they know you as a person, they're more likely to have real conversations with you, more likely to listen. This is not manipulation, this is about care, just to be clear. I've seen the manipulation approach too with people, and it's not very pretty. Just, you have to feel it here though too. It's not a mind process. There's a lot of talk about empathy in organizations, which I think is beautiful. We require empathy, and It only works if you really feel it. I had a manager once where he would walk around to everyone in the team and say, hey, how you doing, Assad? Hey, how you doing, John? And to every single person, just say, hey, how you doing? Here's the thing, though. You knew if he liked you or not, based on how he was with you. It sounded exactly the same, but you could feel the difference. He did not like me at all, because I wasn't a yes man. I stood up for the people, not for his perceived control and power. But you can feel it, right? Do you feel the difference when someone shows up and cares or not? Yeah. How do you bring that forward to the rest of the people that you work with? And that includes the people that piss you off. It matters. We don't resolve anything if we're pointing fingers at other people, right? So how can you shift to focus on finding some sort of compassion or care connection with the people that you're annoyed with or frustrated by? To find a way to have a common ground, so to start to build something with. This really comes down to you need to stop doing Agile. Stop doing the machine. Stop doing the process, stop doing all the things. And to start being Agile. How do you be Agile? Really, this comes down to how do you be human? We are multifaceted beings, and we have to be. It's not about doing. So how do we do this? There's this magical space that happens if we focus on being in an open mind state, an open heart state, and an open will state. This particular model I was delighted to discover because it explains what I had already arrived at. I heard this actually at the talk in Belgium where I saw the Dalai Lama. And this particular man, he talked about it. He's from this organization in, I think, South Africa, actually, called the Presencing Institute. His name's Martin Kulungu Banda. And it's talked about as, there's a book called Theory U. I didn't know there was another name for it until someone heard my talk once, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know there was another thing about it, but okay. But it's a beautiful thing where we talked about where the magic really happens. The magic for creation and innovation and connection and exploration and thriving. If we all show up with an open mind, an open heart, and an open will, things transform. This applies regardless of who you are and what you're doing and where you are. So what's an open will? An open will means that we're showing up to step into courage. Sorry, I got this in the wrong order. I just noticed. Let me go forwards for a second. Oh, no, okay. I duplicated a slide. Okay, so the open mind is the first one. Let's just skip over that. An open mind, see, this is Agile, right? Like, oh, made a mistake. Oh, well. I'll get the right slide in when I post the slides, though. So an open mind, this is really about how do we show up with other people? How do we stop and let go of how we think things need to be to step into how things could be together? How do we step into power with other people so that we can really self-organize? Self-organizing as a concept, as a theory, is great. Self-organizing as a process that's pushed on people does not work. Self-organizing means discovering together. How do we discover together how we really want to move and operate together, how we want to collaborate together, how we want to care about each other, how we demonstrate care for each other, how we feel successful together, how we feel delighted together, all those things. And it's never power over. So the best thing that you can do if you're in any sort of leadership role is to step in and feel yourself holding hands. You could hold hands with people literally if you want, if that feels good. But like, just step into the sense of, I feel like I'm holding hands with you and we're in this together, rather than that you're in front of me and I'm directing you. How do we arrive at the finish line together? How do I support that? How can I facilitate that growth? How can I facilitate that transformation? And how can we go under transformation and through transformation together? This really requires letting go. Letting go of everything that you think you need to be, or everything that you think the way things need to be has to be. Letting go of your need for control to feel safe. I had a delightful experience yesterday with my friend John, where we took an Uber car to go to, I can't say the name of the caves still. You all know what I'm talking about? Yeah, okay, that's the place. I don't know why I can't say it. So we went there, had a delightful exploration into the caves. And then we took an Uber to go to, and I'm going to tell a slightly funny, embarrassing story. We went to go to the Cradle of Humankind, which we knew that we were already in the area of the Cradle of Humankind, right? That the whole area was that. But Google Maps said there was a specific location for that was separate from where we were. We knew that there was a museum where we were, and we're like, we don't have time to do that and go to the Cradle of Humankind and go to this cultural village that we wanted to do. So we Google Map, we get in an Uber, we're driving with our Uber driver, and we're going down this main road, and it was fine. We go down this dirt road, and we're like, curious, thought it'd be off of a main road, but okay. It gets bumpier and bumpier and more out in the middle of nowhere. For 15 minutes, we're driving down this road. And we're like, maybe we're not in the right place. What's happening right now? And we're like, maybe we should check with him. Maybe he's just taking us to the middle of nowhere and something weird is going to happen. We don't know. And at that point, all of our cell service is gone. We're like, we don't know what's happening. So we checked in, and he's like, no, this is where it says to go. And we're like, maybe, we reflected on this later. We're like, maybe this is just the center of the entire space. It's probably what it was, the center of the entire sphere of the center of humankind, whatever the name was. And we're like, okay. So thankfully, a car was driving down the road, down this very, very tiny dirt road that was really, really rocky and kind of dangerous. And I was like, thank God this is not my car going down this road, because it would be wrecked. And this car, we flagged them down. And they're like, oh, no, that's back to where the caves were. Basically, it's really close to there. You could go back that way. And we're like, but where is this Google thing taking us? Google is wrong. Wrong. I'm updating that with the review later. Anyway, so we got turned around. We did a 3-point turn on this very narrow road with a steep drop off, and we're like, I don't know if we're getting out of here. We might be stuck, right? So we turn around, we go back the other way, we get out. We ended up at the Delesie Cultural Village later, which was wonderful. But the whole thing about letting go was that we had to let go of this. We were going to have this very clear plan. This is what we were doing. And we laughed about it the whole time. We're like, well, we've wasted an hour and a half today in the middle of nowhere. But boy, we got to see some beautiful countryside. We had some good laughs, great conversations. And this is about the power of letting go. How do I think it has to be? If you let go of how you think it has to be to discover what could unfold, we had a delightful day. Even though we were lost in the middle of nowhere in South Africa. It seemed like the middle of nowhere for us. Because we might not have come back. I know that Alok was a little concerned for us. He's like, you went where? Where are you? You weren't supposed to leave the hotel. Sorry, Alok, I know that you care. Thank you. But letting go of control and just being delighted to discover what could happen. The second is an open heart. Open heart means reducing hate. And I know that you probably think you don't hate the people or the project or the work. But do you have compassion for the people and the project and the work? Do you have compassion for yourself? Do you feel it in your hearts? Do you feel it in your body? Because if you are increasing compassion and you walk the world with that, you walk your days with that at work, hate is the opposite. Because if you don't have that, you're in frustration. You're in annoyance. You're in, I'm pissed off with this person. It's that person's fault. You're in blame. You're needing to control things. Open-heartedness is a very different feeling. Open-heartedness means, well, I don't understand what's happening right now. I don't understand why people are behaving the way that they are, but I'm curious to discover why they are behaving that way. I'm curious to feel with them their frustration so that we can maybe move past that together. I'm curious to understand my own frustration and why I'm pissed off right now. What am I being triggered by? What is mine to address? And having an open heart for yourself is what leads to having an open heart for other people. You can focus on other people first. That's okay. But my path of discovery and experience is that if you can't feel for yourself, you have no space to feel for other people. If you don't have empathy for yourself, you have no space for empathy for other people. So find a way to bring compassion into your every single day. I know this seems all pretty floofy and fluffy for some of you, perhaps. This works, though. This is where I take a team on the brink of everyone maybe needs to be fired into they're celebrated within 3 months. This is the stuff that transforms organizations into thriving organizations. We do that with wholeness at work. How do we feel and be whole people? How do we connect with ourselves? How do we connect with other people? How do we love ourselves? How do we love other people? How do we love our work? Love is a loaded word. That said, when I've gone in or when I've been a manager, even in just a software tester or project manager, it didn't matter. I loved the people I worked with. And as a result, we did amazing things together. Consistently, project after project or program after program, the people that I worked with, I was so blessed to help them to be in their most delightful, expressive, expansive states, which led them to being celebrated in the company with top-ranking reviews every single year. The review process is a whole other thing I'm not going to get started on, but if you really care about people, you can shift into abundance together, into thriving together. It's the most amazing thing. And we do that by listening. We listen to ourselves. What's true for me right now? How do I feel right now? How do I acknowledge that? How can I demonstrate that? How can I be congruent with that so that how I feel inside is how I am outside and how I relate with other people? And I listen to other people. I ask them questions. I get curious. And then I actually be present to hold space with people. Holding space is this beautiful, deep act of connection and compassion where somebody feels completely held and safe with you. It's deep, deep care. It's a practice. You may not shift there right away if you're not there now, but it's a beautiful practice, and it takes a little time. When people feel deeply cared about because you're that present with them, anything is possible. It's where I see a team member, business analyst in one team, where she just yelled at people all the time. She was so frustrated with things at work that the first time I met her, she asked publicly with all the people there in this big department meeting, what do we do about people who are not very smart and don't do their jobs very well? I'm like, can we talk later together? And she spent two or three different times that we talked, she just yelled at me. I'm like, well, I know this isn't about me. She doesn't know me. Like, well, I get that you're really frustrated. Tell me more. We got to a point by the end of the third one where she had got out all the things she needed to get out. And she was like, oh, you're actually here. You're actually listening to me. You're not brushing me off. And I coached her out of the organization. But the reason for that, though, was because she was so unhappy. There was no way for her to reconcile into happiness in that position. And said, wouldn't you rather be happy? Where would you be happier? What would you be happier doing? And the organization wasn't willing to fire her despite, to let her go or reallocate her elsewhere or help her to find a new place because she was like this. They perceived her to be the person with all the information, and if they got rid of her, they were going to crumble and fall. Well, guess what? Everything was fine when she left. And she was happier, and the team was happier. It was a win-win. It was great. And all it did was a lot of listening time on my part, but she felt heard. It's a beautiful shift. And then here's the open wheel for real. Open wheel means going in with a desire to discover and to be able to step into that. So we have to reduce our fear and step into courage. There's a belief that you have to push your way through fear. I don't believe in that anymore. Well, for some things. I've done like some obstacle races like Tough Mudder, where I really had to push through fear, like live wires running through them. But as a whole, I don't believe in pushing through fear because you don't address the core of why the fear is there. So invite yourself to find out why you're afraid, what you're afraid of, why you're afraid of it, and how can I step into courage for that. This allows you to step into the space of sensing into purpose is this beautiful space of presencing. How do I get really, really present in the now moments? Really present. So the past is not influencing anymore, and the fear of the future or the anxiety or all of those things are not present either. You're so present in the now that you can step into inspired flow, inspired discovery, inspired creation, inspired collaboration. That I'm just here with you now. I'm here with me now. And that's all there is. And with that, there's space to emerge and adapt and evolve together. This is where leadership of the future comes in. Being able to hold the space between the past crumbling and the new emerging, to hold the present state. To let go of all the things that happened in the past. And to stop pointing fingers and say, well, we're here right now. What can we do now? What feels good now? Not what do we need to do to avoid happening what's happened before again and again and again. What is the possibility for newness? So with the presencing moments, the space, there's a lot of talk about mindfulness right now, collectively, which I think is beautiful. It's a good start. Presence helps if you take time to pause and be. Does anyone here have a meditation practice? Has anyone meditated outside of the regular practice, like maybe a couple of times? Okay, a few people. All right, we have a little bit of time. We're going to do one. Real quick. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. I promise I won't do anything weird to you. I'm going to stay here. You're safe. And I'm watching you all, so no one can do anything weird to you either, okay? I've got you. So I invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in. And then slowly exhale it out. And then take another deep breath in into your belly, as far down as you can go. And just slowly exhale it out. And just breathe slowly and deeply. And I'm going to invite you to think about something that's been bothering you lately. Just one little thing. Maybe there's a discomfort or pain somewhere in your body. Maybe there's somebody at work that you're frustrated about, or something about a project that's not going well. Or maybe there's something at home that's bothering you. Just sit with that and just continue to breathe slowly and deeply. Breathe in and out. Just notice how your body feels with that information. Is there tightness somewhere in your body about that thing that's been bothering you? Is there a pain somewhere? And just continue to breathe slowly in and out. And ask that part of your body that's feeling whatever that discomfort is, what do you need right now? And hear the answer. What do you need right now? The answer might surprise you. And if it does, it's probably you're on the right track. And just breathe slow and deep. A couple more times. And just repeat internally within yourself, I release this. I release needing to control this. I release needing to control this. And I invite discovery. I invite new possibility. Just take one final deep breath in to your belly. And just blow it all out. And when you're ready, just slowly open your eyes. Did anyone have a shift? Raise your hand if you did. A shift, a change, did something feel different, lighter? Some hands going up. If you didn't, that's okay. If you don't want to admit it, that's okay. If you thought it was stupid, that's okay. Doesn't bother me any. These moments, all that took was like 90 seconds. You can do it in 10 seconds. Just to get really present, to release what's really bothering you, to release the stress, the pain, the struggle, to let go of what you think needs to happen, to step into the now present moment. I do often little meditations with teams or individuals. I do individual coaching too, to help people to get into that present moment so that they can have inspired creation and a beautiful new career, work-life experience, or life or home experience. It doesn't matter. It just takes that pause moment to just be and to rediscover yourself again. When you do it as a team at work, oh man, people are pretty resistant. This is weird. We got to do work. We don't have time for this. But you really don't have time not to. That little tiny, that 90 seconds is a massive reset for a lot of people. So I invite you to consider, how can you get more present in your everyday life? How can you get more present with the people around you? How can you get more presence with your work, in your creation, and your inspiration? How can you bring yourself back to that guiding light of care? The go, get this work done, get these projects out it's just the work. You may as well enjoy it. Have fun with it. Show up with each other and yourself. Give yourself that permission to do that. And you're going to have fun. A lot of fun together. You should be having fun. So I invite you to consider, how can you bring more soul back to work with you every single day, and start here at the conference. How can you bring more of your true self into every interaction where you're so real and authentic that you have a real connection with somebody new that you've never met before? Maybe you leave with a new friend. And see what comes from there. So thank you very much for playing with me, for meditating with me, and for your energy and your presence. Have a wonderful day.